Hello and welcome to this week's featured video. All disease is really just one disease. I'm Jennifer Ellis-Schutz, former high school Spanish teacher, head girls varsity soccer coach, and at-risk counselor of nearly 2 decades, as well as a complex invisible illness warrior and thriver that ultimately learned how to become my own best self-healer. And then I decided to turn my pain into purpose and transform into being a trauma-informed, functional, and lifestyle medicine practitioner and transformational coach, and now a practitioner trainer at Wellness Code Academy, of which I am the founder and currently co-owner with my business partner, Sarah, known as the Organic Dietitian on the social media channels. Let's dive into today's topic, shall we? Okay, so the wisdom I'm about to share with you in this video was all gained in my own long, hellish odyssey to recover my health from the grips of often disabling, complex, invisible illness, as well as the last decade in working with hundreds of clients now in my one-to-one coaching practice, and the work I do in Wellness Code Academy with teaching other practitioners. And this wisdom was so pivotal, such a game changer for me, that it literally transformed how I approached my own healing and my entire way of operating in my business and now what I teach. And I'm confident that it will be the same level of transformative shapeshifter for you that it was for me. So, what do I mean when I say all disease is really just one disease? Well, let me break it down for you. So, I once believed, based on what I was taught in my functional medicine training programs, that the root causes of chronic disease were factors such as chronic infections like parasites and candida and other fungal infections and chronic Lyme and company, hormone imbalances, a leaky gut, a dysbiotic microbiome, and the list goes on. Now, don't get me wrong. These are all absolutely players in the spectrum of chronic illness, and they need to be recognized and adequately dealt with. However, I don't think that they were the first to arrive on the scene. I think there's an overarching key player that makes us become vulnerable hosts to the development of all of those factors, an umbrella player with everything else kind of falling underneath it and being a byproduct of it. So what is that one player, the one disease that I am talking about? It is an impaired energy production system. In worst case scenarios, a completely broken energy production system, aka mitochondrial dysfunction. So why is this? What's the rationale, you might be thinking right now? Well, think about it. Energy is the foundation of life. It's what makes everything go round in the entire universe, in our bodies, everything. And without ample energy, our cells cannot perform the many vital health promoting functions that they need to, such as everything that I just kind of listed: immune function, blood sugar and insulin regulation, neurotransmitter synthesis, hormone production, gut function, and the list goes on, okay? And this brings me to the chronic cell danger response model of chronic disease. And the breakdown of that is this: mitochondria, the energy powerhouses of our cells, have 2 primary roles in the body. Number 1, to produce ATP, which is usable cellular energy, okay? And number 2, to monitor our internal and our external environments for threats. The more threats that they detect, the more they shift out of peace and energy producing mode and into the direction of defense mode, where they down-regulate all cellular functions, okay? And when that happens, the byproduct is widespread systemic metabolic chaos, then chronic inflammation, and then ultimately symptoms, illness, and disease. And threats can be physiological, environmental, psychological, spiritual, financial, and the list goes on. Okay? So now kind of let's zoom out and keep that chronic cell danger response mode model in your mind while I show you my infamous iceberg graphic to kind of give you a bigger picture and a more detailed picture as well as how chronic disease unfolds. Okay? So here we have it, and it all starts at the bottom layer of the iceberg graphic, the level of distress. And we've got physiological and psychological factors. And these lists are by no means all inclusive, okay? These are just examples. So physiological, we've got things like poor or an incompatible nutrition, okay? Unsupportive lifestyle habits, lack of self-care, pushing beyond our limits, under or over exercising, okay? Ongoing toxin exposures in our environments, which can be both biochemical type of toxin exposures like hidden mold, but it can also be like, toxic work environments, toxic family environments, and so forth. Symptom suppression with over-the-counter and prescription drugs, disordered breathing patterns, and the list goes on. And then we've also got the psychological factors, such as unresolved emotional traumas, poor boundaries, perfectionism and overdrivenness. This was me to a T. People pleasing, so saying yes when we really want to say no, swallowing our truth to the point where it becomes issues in our tissues, draining and toxic relationships, global stress and trauma, which is paramount right now in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, lack of passions and purpose, so sticking with jobs that just suck the life force out of us because we're afraid to leave them because they pay us a good salary. Chronic survival mode, being chronically overwhelmed, keeping up with the Joneses, the hustle culture mentality, and ultimately just mental and emotional burnout. And I believe that it is at this level of distress that our energy system becomes impaired, because all of these are huge threats that our mitochondria pick up on. And the more of these that they sense, they're like, holy shit, the system is in danger. We need to downregulate. So they shift out of that energy producing mode and more into defense mode. And the more that goes on, then our underlying genetic tendencies get flipped on. For some of us, this is, the predisposition to develop cancer, neurodegenerative disease, autoimmunity. It's all different for all of us, okay? Because we all have different genes in us. And we're all vulnerable to these things if the environmental inputs are so abundant and overwhelming that they turn the genes on. And then as the stress cascade continues up the iceberg, we slip into that widespread metabolic dysfunction I talked about. And we develop things such as impaired digestion, nutrient deficiencies, microbiome imbalances, hormone imbalances. We become a revolving door of chronic infections like candida, parasites, chronic Lyme and company. If we're working in an environment where there's hidden mold, we're going to definitely be accumulating that mold more so than somebody that has more resilience than us. Limbic system trauma loops, which is where our brain gets stuck in alarm mode, and the list goes on. And then the longer this goes on without resolve, we advance to the top of the iceberg, which you see here is symptoms, illness, and disease. And we're likely going to be handed one or more of the following diagnoses: chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, digestive conditions such as SIBO, irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, mast cell activation syndromes, multiple chemical sensitivity syndromes, all the various autoimmune diseases, Hashimoto's, mold-related illnesses, chronic Lyme disease and company, neurodegenerative disease, cancer, and others. And it all began at the bottom level, the distress level, where the energy system became impaired and then downregulated cellular function. And I also believe it's at this level that nervous system dysregulation begins. And our nervous system is the master regulator of our psychology and our physiology. So in combination with mitochondrial dysfunction, that's no bueno. We are definitely going to be on a trajectory towards chronic inflammation and overall systemic disease. Okay? So that is what I mean by all disease is really just one disease. And if we step back and approach healing from this lens, I do believe that we can shift the trajectory of the epidemic of chronic and deadly diseases that we are experiencing today. That being said, you're probably thinking, all right, Jen, this was a lot of information, and holy cow, how do I repair the energy production system for myself? How do I better help my clients do that? Where do I even begin? Well, this is a big question, and I can't possibly tell you everything you need to know in this single video, but I can give you some pointers and some strategies on where to begin. All right, so first and foremost, minerals. Okay, so minerals: calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, iron, selenium, lithium, okay, boron, sulfur, etc. Those are minerals. And the reason being is that minerals are the spark plugs of life. They're the spark plugs of cellular energy production. And with depleted and or deranged levels of minerals, our cells and our mitochondria cannot produce or maintain a charge. So minerals are literally the catalysts, okay? Just like a spark plug is the catalyst that starts the engine in the car. So we absolutely need to begin with minerals. And balancing minerals isn't as simple as just running a test and then taking minerals that we're deficient in. It doesn't work that way, right? And blood labs are not adequate for measuring minerals. Sarah and I start all of our clients with HTMA, which stands for hair tissue mineral analysis, which looks at mineral levels at the cellular level and shows us how the body is functioning in terms of nervous system function, immune function, hormone function, blood sugar, and insulin regulation, and the list goes on. And also minerals are a window into the mental and emotional body. So how they distribute and ratios between synergistic pairs lets us know, where there's some unresolved trauma, where there's some unsupportive mental and behavioral patterns going on. And so that's where we begin with repairing the energy production system, is running the HTMA. And by the way, we do teach a robust HTMA training called Holistic HTMA Pro, which teaches the interpretation and implementation of the hair tissue mineral analysis through the lens of trauma, psychoneuroimmunology, and transformational coaching. If you would like to learn more about that, you can do so by clicking on the link in the video information below. So anyway, that's number one. We start off with minerals. Then number two, we start working on prioritizing and optimizing the foundations, which I believe there are 8 primary ones, of which I have now called the 8 mothers of all medicines. So what are they? Well, number one, we have nutrition, which hydration is a component of that. And by nutrition, I'm talking about adopting a way of eating that supports keeping chronic inflammation at bay, supports even keel blood sugar and insulin regulation, and an optimally functioning digestive system, because those are like the 3 amigos of optimal health. And so this way of eating is going to look differently for everybody. For me, it ultimately translated into primarily an animal-based way of eating. Okay, and then as far as hydration goes, aim to drink half your body weight in ounces of highly purified water each day with added minerals. But hydration in itself, I could do a whole workshop on that. I'm just kind of giving you a bird's eye view of everything. So that's number one, nutrition with hydration. Number two, rest and sleep, which are both pivotal, but they are different. Sleep is what we do at night, and it's when our body regenerates and detoxifies the most, okay? That must be dialed in, and it's literally the mother of all medicines. It's when our bodies do the most healing. However, we also need rest in order to be able to sleep, and rest is a way of showing up in our lives in a non-chaotic, restful way, getting our minds in order and just operating in a way that doesn't send more threat signals to our mitochondria than safety signals. And we need both of those, rest and sleep, dialed in. Okay? Next up, restorative movement. We are wired at our core to move every day restoratively. For myself, this looks like a 30-minute hilly walk in the morning, followed by Pilates, stretching, and some free weights. So find a daily restorative movement that works for you and supports overall wellness. Next up, we have sunlight. We are all programmed at the cellular level to be getting ample amounts of bright sunlight each day. It's integral to our circadian rhythm to be able to get consistent restorative sleep each night and to keep our mitochondria healthy. Next up, we have breath, okay? Contrary to popular belief, we do not detoxify the most via our skin, via urine, or stool. We actually detoxify the most through our breath, upwards of 70%. So on the exhale. So cellular respiration filtered through our lungs and then expelling the toxins through our exhale. But that's only if we are breathing optimally. So in through our nose, deep into our diaphragm in a nice relaxed fashion, not too quick, ideally roughly 8 to 10 breaths a minute. And also just a side note, breath is one of the primary signals going from our body up to our brain, telling our nervous systems and our mitochondria if we are in a state of threat versus safety. So if we're not breathing optimally, like holding our breath, breathing too shallowly, and breathing too quickly throughout the day, we're going to be sending a constant signal to our mitochondria and nervous system saying we're in danger and they're going to mobilize. Okay, so just think about that. Next, we have safety, which once again, it's all about mitochondria. So we need a sense of safety in our lives. And this begins with our daily habits, how we talk to ourselves, how we treat ourselves, our relationships, our work environments, and the list goes on. Safety is key. And then we have mindset, because everything we think in our minds gets imprinted on our cells, our entire nervous system, our overall body, but it also transforms into our behaviors, our daily habits. And at the end of the day, what we do repeatedly creates our realities. And a lot of it has to do with the thoughts that we engage with between our ears. And then lastly is connection with ourself and connection with others. We are wired at our core for connection. We need it. But in order for us to be connected with others in a healthful way, we need to be connected with ourselves in a healthy way. And so those to me are the 8 mothers of all medicines that are a big part of balancing minerals, which are the spark plugs of cellular life, of cellular function. And then it brings me to, you can consider some more targeted biohacks, some more targeted interventional strategies. And this could be a workshop in itself, but I'm going to share with you the 4 that have worked the best for me and that I've done for a long time and currently do. And I'm not going to go into each one in detail, just kind of give you a snippet of each. But first and foremost is methylene blue, which is a specialized blue dye originally used to stain microscopy slides in the science industry to identify microbes under microscopy studies. However, soon after, I'm not quite sure of exactly when, it was discovered to have immense therapeutic benefit in helping to repair a broken energy system, aka mitochondrial dysfunction. There are many books on this that you can purchase on Amazon, as well as videos that you can read about. One of the books, I wish I would have had it here to show you, is written by Mark Sloan, S-L-O-A-N, and it's called Methylene Blue. I can't remember the exact title, but just look up book written by Mark Sloan about methylene blue on Amazon or whatever. Google it and you'll come up with it. Highly recommend the book. He does a great explanation of the science behind methylene blue, but in a simplified way that lay people can completely understand. I read the whole book in like 3 hours. Highly recommend it. My husband and I take it every single day. Next up, red light therapy between 650 and 800 nanometers of frequency. This has been shown to provide immense benefit in the reversal of oxidative stress and mitochondrial repair. I have a full light panel that is suspended on a horizontal stand that I can slide over my bed, and I use it every night for 30 minutes, 15 minutes on each side. And the combination of methylene blue with red light therapy is literally like a powerhouse combination for helping to repair the energy production system. I can't say enough about it. It's been complete and utter game changer for me. Next, we have plasmalogens, which are a supercharged subclass of cell membrane glycerophospholipids. So think like fatty acid layer surrounding cells, the membrane, so surrounding cells, nerves, mitochondria, and so forth. And these are essential for keeping chronic inflammation at bay, shutting off oxidative stress, and repairing the damage from oxidative stress, especially in the brain, the nervous and cardiovascular systems, of which have dense populations of mitochondria. And as we age and as we accumulate stress, the production of this goes down, and it makes our cells and our mitochondria vulnerable, and therefore it can be a game changer, hugely beneficial to supplement with plasmalogens as a supplement. And if you're currently in, an acute chronic illness situation where you need some heavy duty targeted intervention, it would be wise to start kind of at a loading dose and do that for 3 to 6 months, and then you can dial it down to a maintenance dose and possibly phase it out. So I take a low dose every day right now, but I'll likely phase it out or bring it kind of in and out of my life as I feel I need it. I take everything as it comes. And lastly, TUDCA, which is a water-soluble bile acid salt that is an amazing overall whole body support. It helps with bile flow, digestion, detoxification, and overall cellular regeneration. And the production of this is something else that gets dialed down with age and with accumulated stress and trauma. I really like the product by Cellcore Biosciences, Advanced TUDCA, and also the one by Nutricost TUDCA. Oh, and also the one by the company Body Bio. Those are the 3 that I use and recommend. And again, I take them every day. So that is my theory on all disease is one disease. And this is where I would start unraveling that. I hope today's message resonated with you. And if it did, be sure to like this video, drop a comment, follow us for more. And once again, check out our online courses and programs. If you want to take a deeper dive into this type of transformational medicine approach that helps ourselves and others learn how to become their own best self-healers and works with the true core of chronic and deadly disease. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, cheers to your healing, resilience, and success.